Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be taking an online virtual tour of our brand new product, ZoomTour. This is something we are super excited to be sharing with you, and you will get an overview of both the front end and the back end and some information on how this will work. And so with that, I am going to say a quick hello to my two colleagues on the line with me. I've got Stevie Field-Chavez from Sales. Hello, Stevie.
Hello, Elisa.
And we've got Chris Gillis here from Client Services. Hey, Chris.
Good morning, afternoon, everyone.
Thanks, Chris. So we are going to be talking about ZoomTour. And before I turn this over to Stevie to walk us through it, I just want to say a couple things about what ZoomTour is, because this really is quite a different product than anything else we've ever had at GIS Planning. And it's different because this is cloud-based software that you use to create as many themed online tours as you like. And we know that these online tours right now are so critical, especially during a pandemic when travel is restricted. You can't always get people into your community, but you want to get them excited about it, keep them excited about it, and inform them in very creative ways. So ZoomTour, I like to compare it, let's say, to something like PowerPoint, that you get the hands on the tool and you add the content, and you can build as many tours as you like to use in creative and different ways. And in order to build the tools, we've got a very intuitive dashboard. There's no training or experience needed. You don't need to be a design person. You just need to be the expert about your community and help add that material. So in the tour itself, we have different stops. You can add as many stops along the way as you want, kind of like a regular tour. We get on and off the hop on, hop off bus. And for your tours, you can choose to add as many as you choose. And each one of those tours, you get to add text, of course, in the column on the left, as you see here in the example on your screen. We get to add images, we get to add video, you can add audio files, you can customize your text, we can put hyperlinks to different organizations, institutions, or companies that you might be talking about along the way. You want to have destination on the map. So like any tour, we're actually taking them virtually, in this case, through real physical spaces in your community. So we always start with a stop on the map, and each stop will have a different place on that map. You can use Google Maps Street View, we've got Google Earth, we have 360 immersive video. There's all different kinds of ways that you can add ways to visualize those places along the way. And if you are a GIS Planning client, if you're using any of our other tools, you can add data from Zoom Prospector or your intelligence components. You don't need to be a GIS Planning client to use ZoomTour. You can, of course, go ahead and create beautiful, compelling, and engaging tours, even without access to those other tools as well. So it really does function as a kind of standalone on its own. And then ZoomTours are super easy to share, as Stevie's going to show you. Basically, you share it with a link. You click on Share Tour. You can go directly to your social media channels, or you can generate a link that you could put in proposals, or you can put on your website, or use in email campaigns, or whatever creative ideas you have, email newsletters. There's lots of great stuff that you can do with the link to share your ZoomTour. And so with that, I'm going to turn this over to Stevie, and Stevie is going to walk you through what a ZoomTour actually looks like from the front end, what your tour visitors will see.
Thank you so much, Elisa. Okay, I can see my screen moving around, so yep. Let's just jump into it. So this is one of the examples of the ZoomTour. I'm super excited about it. I come from history, experience of economic development, and I know how much I used to spend on this type of like a flyer or a program of my community. And so this gives unlimited creativity at your fingertips, and you really are limited to your imagination on just what you can build. This is an example that was built for us by our director of design, Pau, and so we've got listed here our different stops along our trip. So we have here San Francisco, and you can see we have our map view and our street view, and then we also have different photos that we've included on the actual location. Let's go to stop number 2. We have a description here of the city. These are where our different stops of where our team members are located and where our offices are. And so we've also included the 360 Google view. We also have some data that's included. So you can include just as many different stops on the tour as you like, and different components within each stop that you like. I know that's a mouthful, but whether it's data, you can have multiple photos, video, drone imagery. I mean, really, the sky is the limit on what you want to include. This is Columbia, South Carolina. This is where I live. So you can see we've got 3 pictures embedded here, as well as a really cool video. If you're an economic development organization, you can include these for another economic development, or for your economic development location, your industrial development, chamber of commerce, or CVB, as long as it's all part of your same organization. You can talk about different industrial parks within your community and available properties. You can go into restaurants or museums, or just in different cultural things to do in your community. This is one of our clients, NISA. They're located in the Myrtle Beach area here in South Carolina, and they just did a great job with their tour. You can see each stop on the tour is numbered with some information on that particular stop. We've got a welcome message that includes their logo, which is all branded with their colors. I'm going to scroll down, and we've got a video included here that has a welcome message. And you know, I love this. My economic development hat just loves this part. I can very clearly see a map of the US and where they're located on the map. And you'll hear me preach that in many of our webinars. I think that's so important to include on our introduction. I could put my contact information here, photo. Building these is as easy as if you were to do a Word document or a social media post. Chris is going to show that here in just a few minutes. Here's a second stop on our tour. You can see we have our 360 view. So it's actually a drone image of what's happening in this community. So if we're looking at a particular industrial park, I can see very clearly what the industrial park looks like, the available site or building that we might be looking at, and some of the neighboring or adjacent buildings, how it's located, positioned in terms of transportation. I also have additional data that may help me make my decision on what's been the growth. If you're a GIS planning client, this data is, you can include the data that's provided with your Zoom Prospector Enterprise package. If you're not a GIS planning client, we certainly would love to talk to you about that, but you can include your own data. So you may have some of that data already at your fingertips. So this is all part of one stop on the tour. So within, you can have multiple tours and multiple stops, and each stop can have multiple different images, videos, data. So just kind of, you know, you can actually almost noodle that in your head. If it's pointing people into different directions, if it's including different links. Elisa mentioned a great point as well. You can actually build these and include these in a downloadable format on your website. So instead of paying a marketing agency what could sometimes be, you know, a $10,000, $20,000. I know some people have very large budgets for marketing agencies. You can now create something like this at your fingertips and include it on your website for different components of your community that you want to show off. Whether, again, it's the economic development side, whether it's the chamber side, you can have this downloadable, and you can embed your different links and contact information within. I know Chris is going to show you a little bit more about how to build it. Then we can talk about a little bit more about the investment and some of the questions about how to kind of get started and what all is entailed when you want to put something like this together. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Chris, and he can show you a little bit about the back end, and then we'll kind of take back another peek on this here shortly.
Great. Let me get my screen going here, folks. So as Stevie said, and you should be seeing my screen here in the admin of Zoom Prospector. So everyone's a client here. You already have access to the admin. ZoomTour is an additional little navigation item here. This is our little test environment here. So there's lots of just test tours, but I've created one just before this to go through with you. It's really easy to get started and up and running. This is designed to be fully self-service. So you don't need a kickoff. You're gonna get an email with your login and password and you'll be ready to go. All you have to do is come in to the ZoomTour section. You're gonna add a ZoomTour. You're simply gonna give it a name and save that. Once you do that, it'll be in your list of tours. You can click on Manage Tour Stops, and that will start you on the process there. I've created one initially here. In fact, let me show you it here. It has one stop in an introduction. It's pretty simple. The introduction here can have text, you can have images, you can have hyperlinks to the social media profiles for that location. For the actual stop here, I included just a simple one. We show it on the map. There's also an option, there's a street view option here as well that's not popping up for some reason, but that is completely possible to have street view there on the map, and then also the data section. So I'm pulling something from Zoom Prospector here, just a local city page of their city profile. So everyone that is a Zoom Prospector client, it's really easy to include all this data, whether it's from your Zoom Prospector or your intelligence components. So how you do that is you grab the URL from your share button, and you would then paste that in when you're creating a tour. Photos and videos, obviously, these are going to be the biggest ones for y'all here, but you can create photos, you can add in also any sort of video you want as well. So as long as that's hosted on YouTube or Vimeo, you just put the URL in and you're good to go. So this is just a tour with one stop. Not too glamorous, but it does the trick for our example here. Let's look at how we create that. Very simply, there's an introduction we can edit here, and then there's a stop. To add another stop, there's unlimited number of stops. You know, we haven't had anyone come up with a problem that I need 1 million stops. Well, it's possible. You just got to keep going. Editing the introduction is super simple. You create that title, you create a description here. In the description box, anything you put in there can be edited just like a Word document or what's on a HTML page. So you have bold, text size. You can link out in this text. You can insert images, as you saw with the example Stevie showed there. Very, very powerful here. So you save that part there. You can start creating your stop. Every stop has a title, and then it has a specific location. So these can be all over the place. They do not have to be in any sequential order. It's whatever narrative order you want to have there. So stop title itself, and then the stop description. So this can be as long as you want. It's going to be in that left-hand side box. And again, text formatting, images, links, all possible here. There's the map location. So you can move it around, change the position as you see fit. You can input an address to make that happen for you. There are options for the social media. I'll pop back and show you where these display. But this isn't just one set of social media. This is for each individual stop. So if you're highlighting a business or a restaurant or outdoor activity and they have their website social profiles, you can put them in here. It's not just this stuff is on one slide. So you save this. That is the stop itself, the general information. Here is Street View. Very simply, you add the address in just like you would on a map there. The gallery options, very simply for this, you're going to upload photos and videos. It is not super hard here. You add the image or put in the URL for the video. For the data itself, you are going to just put in that URL from your Zoom Prospector or your intelligence components. A custom tour here is just like those drone videos we saw. We'll look at them here in a minute. It is just its own hosted URL. It's much like a video. You just paste it in, save, and it shows. And these are the tabs themselves. As you're looking at a tab, there is the option to make it default down here. So this one, the pictures would show first. If you had one of those fancy drone videos, when I save this, this would give it the option to be default. You could have, say, for example, Street View with that too. So plenty of power for each stop, but it's really easy. It's a little easier than Facebook, certainly easier than posting to LinkedIn. It's much like throwing something up on Instagram. You create a quick bit of text on it, you add the map location, you upload some images, you're pretty much done. If you want to go fancier, you can definitely do that here. So let's go back to our tour. You know, I was showing you really quickly the introduction slide here. So, and you noticed, you know, I bolded a few things here. We'll come back and look at that. And then on the stop itself, I've added just some brief text, but do note that I did put in some of those social media profiles. So let's go back to our tour. We have one stop. Here's our intro where I simply bolded stuff. If I go to the first stop at the bottom, here are those social links again. So I included this site's LinkedIn profile and Twitter as an image there as well. I can come in, I can look at that data again. So this is going to pop up the Zoom prospector information. One thing with the, as always, with your Zoom prospector information, it is up to date as you pull the data. So it's not when you created the tour that it was 79,000 people living here. It is as the time that tour is pulled up. So your fresh data, just like you do have in Zoom prospector. Photos, videos as well. Super, super simple here. And let's look at another full one. So this is actual live, a client of ours, Nisa. They've done a little bit more than my quick examples, so don't feel you have to always meet this standard. But they put in some text they've fancified here. They've added a little audio narrative and then that image in there. Let's jump ahead to a couple stops, the 8th stop here. So this one is set to default to the Street View option there. It does have photos associated with it. If we go back one, this one is set to default to the drone video. So here they've got an internal little photosphere that they're showing on the inside, but they've also got some hosted data here as well. So here they're showing the talent report around this particular location. And then obviously photos. So very, very powerful here. So with that, that's my little bit there on how to quickly make a tour.
Chris, just a couple of observations. This is Stevie. One of the things on the page that you're currently on, or just on page 7, you know what I really loved is that they put a link back to their website. You can see it says click here for information, and that can take you back into your website. So, you know, everything, you know, we all kind of really preach this quite a bit with our clients, is that, you know, I think your website should be first and foremost what happens in your economic development organization, especially in years like 2020 when so many people aren't in the office. And so the fact that they linked it back to their website, I think was super smart. I just, to reiterate a couple of things, multiple tours, unlimited amount of tours, you have multiple stops, and within each stop, you have several components. You can add your own photos, so you can build more than one. You do not need training. You saw how easy that was to really to construct and to do. And I just think that, you know, this just meets the requirement of so many different organizations out there for such an inexpensive price point, that I'm really just knowing that these are going to be super successful. I love the back-end tour. That makes it so easy. Again, as a former office person of one, I never had the time to devote to building something like this that would take hours and hours. I needed something that would take, you know, moments and moments. And so that just made that something digestible.
Yeah, the tour time to make a tour, you know, is about 15 minutes. Really, once you have the photos, you're pretty much good to go. We designed this to make it easy. So this is not a complex product, and it does stand alone. We do have a couple questions here. One, how do you share these tours? I did not mention that. So each tour has its own URL here. It's really simple. You'll come up and grab that URL. Multiple tours within that can also be selected via the pull down here. So you're going to place this tour in social media. You're going to place it on your website, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so forth. Obviously, newsletters, and when you're working with a client, you can share this URL, wrap it around some text, and have it in there. Very, very easy. Also, a question really about a best practice here. Stevie hinted at this. One of the best practice we recommend is do have some introductory text, but you can repeat it here. When there is, they're constantly having the same information at the bottom here. So this gets people back to your website. So there's a tour out there that you're promoting on social media in some way. Well, that's going to be able to get you very simply back to the website once you read that. Also, up here in the corner, this is your branding and this is your website. So if someone's skated off to a tour and they need to come back to your website, we do build that in there. And that is completely possible. We have some options to put in stuff in the navigation as well. So share it by the URL there, but do think strategically and efficiently in the descriptions. Use some of the same text slugs over and over there.
And we will include those best practices in the Help Center. So when you are a ZoomTour client, you have access to pretty detailed Help Center in the background. We've got a number of best practices in a document that we've developed that's going to be up there, how to add different kinds of files. And then it's just about thinking as broadly as possible about how to use this. So economic development is obviously the first thing that we think about because that's our background. So you could have tours of your target industries and take people around to the different companies for each of those target sectors. You could have something on workforce attraction and focus on research universities and on the elements that make your community attractive to talent. You could do something on featured sites or have a tour of a new development or a business park. But it's also really possible to use this creatively to show things that aren't as obvious for economic development. So for tourism, parks and recreation in your area, museums, arts and culture, you could do a walk down Main Street with some of the important elements of your historic or downtown district, if that's something you'd like to do. And you can also include other things such as film locations. If you're trying to attract the film or television industry to film in your area, we can have links to different places where people have done them, links to institutions or parks or areas that are popular. So it's really about, letting your imagination be their guide. It's really up to you to create these as creatively as possible in different ways. And I see we have a question about price. Stevie, I don't know if you'd like to talk about that for non-GIS planning clients specifically.
For non-GIS planning clients, it's $5,000 annually. And again, that is unlimited amount of tours, unlimited amount of, you've got your multiple stops and then your multiple places within each stop. You do not need to be a client in order for our site selection application and a suite of tools to have ZoomTours. You can just be a client on ZoomTours. And Chris, how long is it for someone to get started once they decide I want to go forward with ZoomTours?
Yeah, this week there's a simple setup that happens, but pretty much probably, say example today, we get that done by the end of the day, or certainly the next day would be a normal turnaround. So if you're ready to go, we can be ready to go too.
Very good. And I know that there's, Chris, if you show our website, there is information on our website on ZoomTours. There's also a button to schedule a demo. There's a frequently asked questions or an FAQ page on there for ZoomTour. Under products, you can, you'll see a list for ZoomTour. There we go. And you can see we've got our FAQs on the side, an overview. So if you want more information, you've got the little I want a demo button at the top. So if you want to chat with someone in sales and ask them questions about your specific project or what you're thinking, feel free to do that. But it really is as simple as we've shown you. So I'm excited about clients getting started.
I've shared this in the chat, so if you guys on the webinar want to open that up, that way it'll persist when we do sign off here in a couple of minutes. Also, Elisa mentioned, and I always kind of forget to show it a little bit here, but we do have a full-fledged help center. So if you're a Zoom prospector client, get in here and start looking at this. But for ZoomTour, it was born this week, but we've got a full help center developed right now. Also on our website, we have an FAQ to answer some of your questions as well. So that's right here. And I want to just share this in the chat. So lots of options to keep you stimulated with information, but we would love to talk about how this could work for you as well.
And we will be following up with an email that will have a link to this video recording, of course, but we'll also have a link to the website product page. So if you want to get some information there, you'll have, in fact, I'm going to bring it up on the screen right now because we're just about out of time and I want to respect your time so that you can see our contact information that will, of course, be included as well in the follow-up email. So any questions that you might have, you can feel free to direct to us. We'd be happy to answer them for you. If you do start using ZoomTour, we're really excited to see what people are creating. We're happy to help you promote them. We've got all sorts of creative suggestions for how to go about doing that. We always say we get our best ideas from our clients, so we're excited to see what people are coming up with and to help make the most of them online. Stevie, Chris, I don't know that we have any other questions in at the moment. Any last words about ZoomTour?
No, I think everyone's set. You know, we'd love to hear your questions and ideas.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for taking time today to join us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks for your time, and thank you, Chris and Stevie, and we will be in touch. Take care. Goodbye.
All right.